Hello, my name is Mr. Wyrick, and for this lesson today we'll be talking about angles, specifically kind of how to measure them, how to classify them, how to put them into different categories, and what more we'll be doing with angles as we progress into geometry. First off, what you need to know is if you have a definite starting point and then you go on forever in one direction. We've been dealing with lines already and line segments. This particular one that stops over here would almost make it a line segment, but it goes forever in this direction. We call that a ray. And anytime we have two rays together, they form an angle. So we are going to measure that angle. Now, most of the time, if you have to measure the angle, you're going to use a tool called a protractor. It looks like this. If you have your own protractor, that's great. If not, I have some in class. They'll be in a bucket. You'll be able to use them. You set the point of the ray down here and you figure out where it's pointing to, and you'll give, for the most part, an approximate measure of what that angle is going to be. You'll need to define these terms: acute, obtuse, right, and angle bisector in your notes, so add that to the notes that you're doing. This right here that comes down at 90 degrees, we draw a little square in it, that is a right angle. Anytime you're dealing with rectangles, anytime you're dealing with squares, you're dealing with a right angle. If it is smaller than a right angle, like the one here on this side, that is an acute angle. If it's larger than a right angle, then that would be an obtuse angle. Anytime you're dealing with something that's an angle bisector, it's cutting that angle exactly in half, the same way when we were dealing with a line bisector or a segment bisector. Those made the lines equal. The angle bisectors are going to make the angles equal. Now, as we progress into proofs, we'll be going back and forth with that definition. So understand that if both of the angles are equal, that line is an angle bisector. And if we're told that the line is an angle bisector, we have congruent angles on both sides of that, equal angles. Now, what you'll mostly be doing is, again, you're trying to classify what it is. So you're saying these smaller angles are all acute angles, these larger angles are obtuse angles, and if it's dead on at 90 degrees, it's a sharp corner like that, then that is a 90-degree angle, a right angle. The other thing that you might be asked to do in this one is to construct an angle. If you are given an angle, you'll use this. This is a compass. It draws circles, but again, if I have this angle, I'm going to measure out my point with this compass and say, okay, I come to right here, and I come to right here. I would set a point down here and draw that through. I would use my straight edge and draw a flat line coming this way. Then I just use my compass to measure this distance here. And where I mark that exact same distance up here, where those cross, that's where my angle needs to go through. So I can construct an angle from an existing angle using my compass by just understanding the distance between it and reproducing that exact same distance with my trusty compass. For the rest of this, you're going to be naming sides of angles, you're going to be measuring angles, but for the most part, if you have any questions, you'll have to reserve those for when I return to class on Tuesday. Good luck and have a great weekend.